Welcome to bench rules training for 2023. We have, this is the last session. All the rest of the rules have been gone over. And we've got several people who want to thank for making this possible. First, the committees that worked on this. Really appreciate it. Most of it was voluntary. Really appreciate all the work you guys put together. I appreciate the work from the advisory committee chairman, Kenny Murray for coal and Brian Millington for metal. And for the help that we got from Erica Warren, getting collecting the rules and getting over to Tiffany and getting the word out to everybody. Appreciate all that. The two co-chairmen for bench today is Mark Beecham and Gary Moore. And I don't know if Mark got back on here yet. Haven't seen him down here, but who would be the spokesman for bench today?
Received an email from Mark yesterday saying that he might possibly miss today's meeting because of things happening at work. So unless Gary would like to do it, I will gladly jump in and go through the changes. That's entirely up to him.
Well, Dave, it looks like you're it.
Okay, that's fine. All right, I will start with either one that Tiffany pulls up here. So it looks like the bio, so that's fine. If you just want to scroll down to the first changes. Okay, this is number 4. Basically, we added in here, as everyone knows, when we combined the coal and metal, non-metal, the committee came up with and decided that they wanted to keep and include the written record that was part of the team technician competition before, prior in metal, non-metal. We tried that, and now the committee has come up with, they're going to do away with the bench written record, but it is going to be available and optional if you do want to do it. I guess there was some talk from some newer benchmen out there who kind of use this as a guide for them to get through their benching. So they do have the option. It is included in the rules. But prior to this, when we had the written record, the one difference is they got 1 minute to actually fill out their written record at the beginning of the problem before they went on the clock. That is no longer going to be an option either. Since it's optional, if they decide they want to do this, they'll be given the blank written record, which we'll get to here a little later on in the rules. But if they want to use it, they can get one handed to them. It'll be provided at the contest, but they will be on the clock when they put the information in that written record. That's the difference. So if anyone chooses to use it, just be aware, you will get it handed to you if you ask for it, but you will be on the clock when you're filling it out. You will not get that minute ahead of time. That's the only difference. Okay, you can scroll down, Tiffany, to the next one. Okay, this is for the written examination. Pretty much the same thing we tried for 2 years on the written exam with pulling the questions out of the manuals for both the Biomarine and the Draeger. That caused some issues for some reason over the last 2 years. I know that's the way it was always done prior to that in metal for the team tech. The written exams really, honestly, from everything that I've heard at the contests that I haven't been involved with and the ones that I've been involved with, they really had issues with the written test, basically deciding the bench contest. You'd have your top 3 or 4 or 5 people that would zero the bench itself, and they would all miss 5, 6, 7 questions. So, that was a big complaint among the contestants. And fortunately, at the national contest last summer, I don't think that was an issue. I actually made the written test, and I knew from all the complaints that I had heard that was going on at all the local contests. So I basically, when I made the written test for the nationals, still pulled everything out of the manuals, but in my opinion, it was a very simple test. And if you have to do that to the written test to keep that from happening, what good's the written test in the first place? So bottom line is the committee decided to go back to statement of facts and try that out for 2 years and see how it works. And then, rediscuss it and see which way they want to go. And it sounds like from all the other disciplines, I think they're trying the same thing. So the questions will be taken from statements of facts again. Okay, Tiffany, you can go on down. Okay, this is just a little clarification also, nothing major, really not a change. Just wanted to add in here, the committee wanted to add in here that during the bench, any similar terminology may be used to describe a part such as a cylinder or a bottle. I think this came up from some protests at local contests where people were trying to use this as a way to protest written tests. They were putting something in there that was similar and it really wasn't what they had as a choice. So bottom line is we just threw this during the bench in there, any similar terminology. And that rule's always been in. And it comes down to when a guy's doing a visual exam and talking about the parts that he's examining, if he calls it an oxygen cylinder or an oxygen bottle, or, if he's looking at a face mask and he calls it the lens or the visor or whatever, that's fine. We go with that. Same thing with hand tight connections, connected or good, whatever. That's all fine. It's similar terminology, and that's what this is meant for. They added the during the bench just to keep it. That's what it's meant for. It's not for the written exam. Okay, this is the optional bench record. If you do request to get a bench record, this is all you're going to get. You're going to get this sheet. You're going to have to fill out everything yourself. You're going to have to put your name and your, all that team name and everything on there if you'd like. Honestly, I wouldn't dock you if you didn't put your team name and contestant, because it's not anything that's going to be judged anyhow. It's just for your use if you decide to use it. So, but just realize you will be on the clock when you're filling this out. So if you need to use this to keep you on track, that's fine. But if I were you, I would practice and be able to do it so that you don't have to waste time on the clock, because you will not be given any additional time before the clock starts to fill this out. That's pretty much all needs to be said with that. Okay, now these are the BioPAC statement of facts. There's going to be 89 statement of facts. I know that's an oddball number, but that's what it ended up being. We did remove a few statement of facts that were outdated and no longer were correct for the contest. So it ended up being 89 statement of facts for both the BioMarine and the Draeger. So these will be what you basically have to memorize for the written tests. I don't believe there was any changes to any of the statement of facts on the BioMarine side. If Ted Beck's on here, and he can correct me if there was, but I don't believe there was any changes to the actual statement of facts. Once you get down to the drawings, the face piece drawing, I believe it was, on the BioMarine was updated. Can you go back to, yeah.
Where is that? I don't know where I need to be.
Just keep going down through the parts drawings till you get to
Okay. Here we go.
that one right there. Yes, this drawing has been updated to the new style face mask that Bio has. So that will be part of the parts drawings. And yes, the questions, there's still 10 questions that come out of the parts drawings. So there's 10 from the statement of facts, 10 from the parts drawings. So you will need to know these parts drawing and the names of the parts. That's the only one that was changed on the BioMarine. That is pretty much it for the changes on the BioMarine side. Are there any questions on the BioMarine side of things? Okay, I guess move on to the BG4. These changes, again, will be exactly the same on the BG4 as they were on the BioMarine, with the bench record being included, optional, and included in the 30-minute working time. And going to statement of facts for the written exam. No longer be any pulled out of the bench manuals. And the same thing for number 5, just threw that during the bench in there, any similar terminology, exact same thing. Now on the BG4, of course, we work with Willie Barker from Draeger and Ted Beck from BioMarine, but Draeger requested that we remove the tested 6100 from an option for a testing unit. We still have the RZ25 and the RZ7000. The tested 6100 will not be an option at the national contest the next time. So it has been removed along with all of its, everything that went with the 6100. That's all gone. I don't believe, in fact, I know we didn't have a single, we had over 100 benchmen last year at the Nationals. And I'm not sure what the breakdown was between bio and BG4, but we did not have one single person at the national contest that requested to use the 6100. I'm not 100% sure if Draeger is still supporting the 6100s, but it was their request to remove it from the rules. I don't believe they're still supporting them if they break down. So they are gone from the contest. You will only have the option of the RZ25 or the RZ7000. That's it. Again, the bench record, optional. Same thing we already explained. No need to explain it twice. And these are the statement of facts for the BG4. Again, there's going to be 89 of them. And I will caution you, these came from the old rules from back before we unified the rules. And I'm not sure if it was 2020 or what the last set was. But I will caution you, there are a few small changes in some of the statement of facts. So if you have old copies of the statement of facts or old tests that were made up, there will be some difference. A couple of them dealt with O2 regulators being sent into the manufacturer to be rebuilt after 6 years, and that's all been eliminated because that's no longer an option with Draeger. You cannot send those in and have them rebuilt. You basically now have to buy a new one every 6 years. So those have been changed. There was one in there with the AirChem 33, I believe it was, for the disinfectant. That one, I don't believe it. AirChem 33 is able to be purchased anymore. All the disinfectant we've used over the past few years have been different brands that we got from Draeger. So just beware, there are a few small changes in those statement of facts. Some were eliminated altogether and some were changed. I believe the rupture disc on the O2 bottle was changed to 4450. I think the old one said 5,000. I'm not sure 100% what it did say, but I think it's 4450 now. So if you have old ones and you were planning on reusing them, I would think twice about doing that and print off a new set, because there are some changes and there are some that have been eliminated. And then if you go on down to the drawings again, there are 2 drawings that were actually updated on the BG4 side. The cooling canister has been updated to the new style cooling canister. I know there's probably some teams out there that are still using the old style cooling canisters, but these things have been out for years now, and just trying to keep up with the upgrades and things to the machines, we finally went ahead and upgraded this cooler drawing to the new style cooler drawing. I think it's the exact same amount of parts that are at the bottom of it. I don't think it changes a whole lot, but there is some difference. Of course, this has the big O-ring on it, but shouldn't be a big deal to change that and memorize these few parts. But the cooler is the new style cooler. And we also upgraded the drain valve, relief valve, minimum valve drawing that are all on the same page. The old one was still the one that did not have the crossover line in it, the crossover T in the relief valve. This has been upgraded also to include the crossover T, and everything else should be the same. So maybe the minimum valve clip might have changed to the new style clip. I'm not sure if the old style was on the old one or not, but those two drawings have been updated. That is basically the only changes that are on the BG4 side. Two drawings and statement of facts.
All right, we have a couple of questions in the chat if you have time to answer.
Yeah, sure. I would really like to eliminate and not have a questions and answer another document that we have to go off of and keep updating and that. It's great to get the questions answered right now.
Okay, so the first one we have is, does the RZ25 require current certification?
I do not think it does. Obviously, for the national contest, we provide all the testing equipment. I can't tell you what your local contest will do, but I can also tell you that from my understanding, that calibration on the RZ25 is a recommendation and not a requirement. I can also tell you, and I'd probably make people mad by saying this, but I used to be an inspector and I wrote that citation before, and I also ate that citation because it was determined it was not a requirement, it was a recommendation. So in my opinion, I'm not worried about that. I really don't think, and again, I can't tell you what your local contests will provide, whether they'll be calibrated or not, but the ones that are at the national contest will be ours, and they should be calibrated, even though I don't believe it's a requirement.
Okay, and Gary Moore did chime in on the chat and said, I don't believe it's required, but recommended.
Yes, I believe that's right. And I don't know if Willie Barker's on here from Draeger or not, but if so, he can probably tell me if I'm wrong on that.
Okay. Well, we have another question. It says, so these statements of facts were around prior to the unified rules, or are you saying the book they were pulled from was around prior to the unified?
Yes, these statement of facts were around prior to the unified rules. They were on the coal side. They were part of the rules on the coal side for as long as I've been around, longer than that. And we basically went back to the last set of coal rules, which I think, if I'm not wrong, was either 2019 or 2020, but I believe it was 19, and pulled those statement of facts back out of that coal side document and used them. But again, we modified a few of them. Be up to date with the current, you can no longer send in regulators and get them rebuilt by the manufacturer. You have to buy new ones. The rupture disc on the bottles, I believe that was from back on the old steel bottles. Every bottle that I have all says 4450 on that rupture disc, brass. So we made that 4450. Can't recall off the top of my head any of the other ones other than the disinfectant with the air chem that was eliminated. So yes, they have been around for a long time. They came from the old coal rules, and they were, and again, like someone mentioned yesterday on one of the sessions, those statement of facts, I think it was Ronnie Biggerstaff in the Mine Rescue. Those statement of facts were all pulled from the manuals anyhow. They were all supposed to be important facts out of the manuals. So it's really not a whole lot different than going and pulling stuff out of the manuals, except it eliminates all the crazy questions that people can throw at you with all that material they have available. And you have a specific set to memorize, and it's all supposed to be important facts out of the manuals anyhow. So I hope that answers the question, but yes, they were around for a long time before that.
Okay. We have a catch here on the page that I have pulled up, page 29. It says in BG4 rules, page 29, items 8, 9, and 10 are not included in the nomenclature. So that is up here at the top of the diagram, 8, 9, and 10.
That's
And
correct. And if you look at all the drawings, all the parts are not included in those. Those are just the ones that were suggested to be included. There's other drawings with other parts that are not included on those parts lists at the bottom. We don't try to include every single little part on all of those. It's just too much, it's too much material to fit in. So these are just specific parts that were picked to be part of it. All you need to memorize is what's on the drawing, and don't worry about if there's something on there that's not on the drawing. That's perfectly fine. Did I answer the question? Did that make sense? Even though there's a number 8, 9, and 10 up there on the parts, there's not at the bottom listed for the parts with the names of the parts. You go through all these drawings on both the biomarine side and the Draeger side, you'll see there's numerous drawings that have numerous parts that are not included in those lists at the bottom. And that's perfectly fine. They just, when they originally did this, they did not put all of the parts on all of the drawings because it's just too much material. So if there is a name at the bottom, that's all you need to remember is that name of that part, and don't worry about any of them that are not listed on those names.
And Gary says he agrees. Are there any more questions for Dave?
I will, again, since this is my only opportunity to speak, and I know I sound like a broken record, but if there's any contest designers on the meeting, hopefully there are, and judges, things like that. You know, the committee basically is doing their best to try and come up with a set of rules that they can use for these contests and make everyone as happy as possible. I know that we're never going to make everybody happy, but as far as the combination between metal and coal, I think it's gone pretty well so far. I think from the feedback that I've heard, the two apparatus structure of the contest has worked out pretty well. I still hear some complaints, and I understand that it's all in what you're used to and getting used to something different, but we still feel that the two apparatus is probably the best setup to give them a fair contest and not get into the tricking people with putting, visual bugs in one apparatus. Again, it turns into them just tearing the whole machine down, trying to find these visual bugs that they got docked on in the past. They really wouldn't find if they just used the tester and the test kit to go through and find the leaks. So, it's not a big deal, but it should be that basically turned one machine with visual bugs and tester bugs into two machines, and you're doing the exact same thing. So hopefully it'll work out for everyone. I just feel if there's any problem designers out there, I still hear feedback and stories from local contests where, it still sounds like they're doing some things differently than what we would like to be done and what's going to be done at the nationals. So please try to ensure that you are only putting visual bugs on the visual machine and test bugs on the test machine. Those test bugs need to be able to be found with a test unit and a test kit, and the visual bugs is a totally separate thing on the other apparatus. So please try to keep that in mind when you're setting these problems up, no matter where you're at in the country. We want everybody to come to nationals wherever it's at and have a fair shake at the nationals because their contests were run the way they were supposed to be run and set up the way they were supposed to be set up. So, these tricks of putting visuals and stuff in where they shouldn't be, they do not belong in the test apparatus. That's just plain and simple. That's why you have two apparatus, one for test, one for visuals. And the other thing is the bugs themselves. You don't want to get into it. It just seems like, when you have a national contest with over 100 benchmen in it, there's controversy just inherently built into the contest, it seems like. And that's just the way it is. And it's not only in bench, it's in all the other disciplines also. But you do not want to, as a problem designer, you do not want to beat yourself up even more because of things that you did intentionally, as far as a bug that you don't know, it's not going to consistently leak, or it's only going to work for one person. It's not going to work for the next person, all that stuff. Something that's very difficult for the judges to set up in between contestants, anything like that. Please don't get into that, because you'll eat yourself alive, basically, and the contestants will eat you alive by the time it's all said and done with. Just try to do things that are going to work consistently. If it's not going to be consistent, don't do it. Plain and simple. Think of something else. I know these contestants have gotten very good at finding bugs, and you have to do all kind of crazy stuff to even try to get something by them, but you're just asking for more trouble. So please try to put bugs where they belong on the machine they belong, and use good ones that are going to work consistently, and give them a fair shake. And the other thing I'll say is more along the lines of the judging. Again, the judges have to know, if you're running a contest and you're doing a briefing with these judges in the morning, be sure to get the point across. They have to stop the clock if something goes wrong that is an unplanned deficiency. If you don't know 110% that the contestant caused it, you need to stop the clock, turn the contestant around, and find out what's going on. I'll give you a prime example of that very quickly. At the Nationals last summer, we had a contestant that was working on an apparatus and had a deficiency. The judges stopped the clock, turned them around. We had to completely change out one piece of the apparatus and put a new one in, because it was not functioning the way it was supposed to function. I know people don't like getting stopped and turned around. It throws their rhythm off and all that, but the judges did what they were supposed to do. They stopped the clock, they turned them around. We were able to get some people over there, work on the machine, change out a piece of the machine that was not working the way it was supposed to. We turned them around, got them started. They ended up placing at the national contest on the bench. Had those judges not stopped the clock, that person would have went home probably in the bottom 5 of the contest and been totally, just furious because that machine didn't work the way it was supposed to. And I understand completely. And those things happen. When you're running through 100 bench contestants, things are going to happen, trust me. But that person was able to finish in the top 3 in bench because the judges did what they were supposed to do. Had they not stopped the clock, he would have came to appeals, and I would have had to tell him, listen, there's nothing I can do. So just understand, please, if you're judges, stop the clock, get something fixed, get it the way it's supposed to be, and then move on. I can't stress that enough. And the other thing is the scorecards. And I go through this year after year after year, and we deal with the same thing year after year. Please take your time, fill the scorecards out consistently, correctly. I don't know if you'll be using, computer scorecards at local contests. More than likely, you'll be using computer scorecards at the national contest. It does the math for you when you're using that, but you still have to put the correct docs in the correct spot to be able to get the right outcome for the contest and for these contestants. So please take your time filling out the scorecards, make sure they're right, make sure they're signed where they're supposed to be if there's a discrepancy, so that we can come and find you. Because if we have scorecards that aren't signed, we have a hard time even tracking down who the judges were to go and find them. So, all that stuff just adds up to a better contest. And please, if there's problem designers out there and have questions, get a hold of us, call us, email us, whatever, ask questions. We'll do whatever we can to help you out to get everything on the same page so that everybody's doing these contests correctly and everybody has the same chance when they come to the nationals. Other than that, unless somebody has any more questions, that's all I have.
And there were a couple of questions on the chat here. One said, will the contest directors for the bench be limiting the number of benchmen into nationals?
That is a question that's come up a number of times, and actually the Rules Committee started beating that around, and I told them that's more of a question for Holmes and the contest directors. As far as I understand that there's time constraints. Bench usually is on the last day when they're trying to get, all the results in and get the trophies made and get everything ready for the banquet that night. So I understand that. If it were up to me, I would let them register however many benchmen that they can. We can, in my opinion, we can add benches if we need to when we find out what the numbers are. Last year at the Nationals, we had 12 BG4 benches and I believe 6 or 8, maybe even 8 biomarine benches. And we ran 110 contestants, whatever they were. We ran them through relatively quickly. I think we were still done before lunchtime. So in my opinion, I would like to see it to where they don't limit the amount of benchmen. I understand their complaint on that. Some of these companies have 3-4 top-notch benchmen that they would really like to compete at the Nationals. And I really don't think they should be limited on that, as long as they register and pay their registration fees, whatever it is on the administration end of it. But that's more of a question for, Holmes and the contest directors as to whether they feel that they can fit them in there. But I can tell you on my end of it, I think we can adjust and make it work as far as the number of benches and things like that. So that's about all I can tell you on that. That's going to be a question for the administration people of the contest.
Ray Cartwright just chimed in here on the chat, said, no, there's not going to be a limit on the bench.
Okay, that's good. That'll make a lot of companies happy.
I think so. Okay, anything else from anybody? Dave, thanks a lot. That was really enlightening, especially the wisdom you put at the end there. That was great. If nobody else has any questions or anything, we'll just be ending this session, which is the end of the training for this time. And look for the rules to be up on the MSHA website. We'll put them on the Holmes website too. And we'll do everything we can help the local contest. So thanks again, everybody, and have a safe day. Tiffany, do you have any parting words here?
Nope. I'm stopping the recording. Everyone have a great day.